We are back.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I don't even know that song.
No, I don't know. I don't even know the band. I just remember it from like the 90s or remember. So
Because we're old.
Yeah, we're old. We're old.
Yeah, we're old.
So I hope everyone has been doing amazing. Thank you so much for being patient with Vanessa and I. Obviously we've had a lot on our plate the last few months, and some amazing news from our very own Vanessa.
Crazy. But yeah, no, like Alex said, it's been a crazy busy couple months. So we've had some people reach out to us just being like, hey, like still intrigued about the podcast, but it's like, oh man, like we really appreciate your patience because we have stuff going on. And like Alex said, like we just recently announced a pregnancy announcement. So we've been pretty busy with like appointments and seeing family and just doing summer stuff. So so today we're going to talk about pregnancy and parenthood, which we thought would be a good topic to come back to and kind of, spread awareness on that and how it can relate to epilepsy as well.
And that's obviously, I know it's a heavy subject for many people. Whether you are the patient, whether you are like just a caregiver, someone, it is a heavy subject. So obviously we want to kind of break down some of that threshold if we can, and break some of the stigmas behind it, and hopefully at least kind of explain from our point of views what we've gone through or what we're going through with in regards to that. So
100%.
Anyways, we can kind of start off just sort of a little bit easy, but Vanessa, how did you kind of spill the news? How did it like kind of come about? How did you tell Mario?
So I'm gonna say this to everybody because I think it's just necessary to add this into the podcast. But Alec was actually the first person I told because because I found out in the morning before going to work, and I didn't want to tell Mario like through text or call him throughout the day. I was like, no, I have to wait till we're both home to tell him. So I'm like, this is like eating me inside. And Alec and I talk on the regular, so I'm just like, I have to tell him. And so I told him, sent him a picture, and then when we all got home, I wrapped the test in like a little gift bag, and I was like, I got you something. And of course Mario at first was like, you never get me like anything. Like what did you get me? And I'm like, oh man, I didn't do this right, but that's okay. So anyways, and then he opened it up and he saw it, and he was like stunned. We were so happy, and little nerve-wracking at first. Like I was in kind of denial for a long time, being like, this isn't real. Like this isn't real. This is a fake. Like I have no idea what to expect because I was so early on that like there was no like proof really other than the test. Like I couldn't wait I couldn't go get an ultrasound for a certain amount of time. Had to wait to go see my doctor, stuff like that. But yeah, and then I think we waited until I was like about 10 weeks until we told like our family.
Yeah.
And just to make sure like everything after we saw the baby on the ultrasound and saw our doctor, we're like, okay, we're in a good place where we feel comfortable telling our family. So Alec was the first to know before our family.
There was a lot of profanity, like a ton, in a good way, but like a ton of profanity. I can't really say that on here, or it's just gonna get this video blocked. But
yes,
yeah, it was
because I messed around with you for a bit at first. Like I didn't actually just right out said to you, I'm pregnant. I'm just like, I don't even remember. I was just like, oh, let's F around with him for a little bit and see what happens. And then I totally caught you off guard. You're like, what? And then swear words were exchanged.
Well, one of the things, and if whoever's listening to this, if you want to see, I've watched it probably a half dozen times. It's on Vanessa's Instagram, and it's her reaction to her first test being positive, and it is one of the most like heartwarming and emotional reactions, and it's basically how I think a lot of um, not only expectant mothers, but even just parents in general are, because it hits you like a ton of bricks, and seeing like your face, it's almost like in disbelief. And again, like, I've
Yes.
watched it so many times, and every single time I'm just like smile from ear to ear kind of
Oh,
thing. So it's
I
just
love that. But yeah,
yeah.
I watch it over and over too because I'm just like, first of all, like I saw it loading and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like hit record just in case.
Yeah.
And the moment I hit record, it came up and I was like, what are the odds of that timing? Like that was crazy. And yeah, I was in true shock. Like I was like, holy shit. Like, and then I started crying, and then I'm like, I have to get ready for work. Like, there's no time to like stop and like cry and just cry while I'm doing my hair. Like, and then just off I go to work, and then just have that eat me alive all day, and then text you while I'm at work,
Oh man.
and
Yeah,
just
no.
count the hours down until I got home to tell Mario.
Britt and I, we were one of ours that it was actually when we had our when we kind of made it public knowledge for that we were expecting twins. I don't know why. I always wanted to do something humorous for like an announcement, like just
Oh, I
that's
remember this
just
picture.
yeah. So it's like it's just like Brit in the background, like I holded up a piece of paper like at the front of the camera, and I'm saying we're pregnant, and Brit's in the background, fake, uh, getting sick into a toilet, and then there's a pan over into it's like the next picture, and Brit's now holding the picture or holding a blank piece of paper that says with twins,
Yes.
and now I'm getting sick in the toilet, which is pretty accurate depiction of what we go through on a daily basis living with the twins. So it's
That's awesome.
yeah.
I remember that, and I was like, "That's hilarious." Like,
Yeah.
and we didn't know each other that well at that point either.
No,
Like, we
no.
were like still kind of like getting to know each other.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when that happened, I was like, "Oh, I love that humor. Like, that's awesome."
Yeah, that was over 3 years ago that we did that, like, announcement anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
I know. So, anyway,
But
so
yeah, like,
we can sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just kind of trying to see what we can jump into next after that. Like, I'm just trying to think. Like, I feel like it's been so long since I found out. Like, I'm just trying to think of the timeline. Like, okay, what happened after that? And like, what are some like milestones and like some stuff that I can share? But I mean, even not even pregnancy related, like parenthood related too. Like when it comes to you, it's kind of good how we have like two different perspectives on how to like talk about parenting and like becoming a parent and starting a family and becoming pregnant while having epilepsy.
Mhm.
So, and I've had so like our community has been so supportive
Oh,
ever
yeah.
since ever since I've announced it. Like there's just been like outpouring of love and DMs and people just saying, like I can't wait for you to share. Like me and my partner want to, eventually start a family. So this is really reassuring that it is possible. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, yes. Like this is again, this is why I share. Like when it either whether it's like epilepsy related or like pregnancy related, it's just all part of the journey. Like
Absolutely. Yeah.
so it's been incredible. Like even connecting with some people that we follow each other, but like we haven't really interacted, but now this topic has become like a really nice like connecting topic for us to talk about and like just share. So it's awesome. Like, and I'm hoping like this reaches a lot of the people that I've been talking to because it's so hard like getting back to everybody individually and like not constantly but like just kind of saying the same thing over and over again to different people because they're all asking the same questions, but I'll
Yeah.
do it. Like obviously, like you have a question, I will definitely answer it. Like I know this is such an important topic. Um So yeah, like I'm really happy we came back with this topic.
Yeah, this is again, like, this is something that I think we probably had, um, just kind of in the back burner for a little while now. Obviously, we've known about, Vanessa's pregnancy for quite some time, and, um, I think this was something that we knew we wanted to address, but to, start out coming back with it, I think is kind of just super important to again, not only to Vanessa, but to me talking about parenthood. This is always a topic
Mhm.
that I love to discuss because it is something that can really take a toll emotionally, mentally, physically on someone who lives with epilepsy.
Yeah.
So it is just something that I like. If you ever go on to Grey Bruce Epilepsy, like the our social media platforms there, like a lot of the times I do talk about parenthood and what it's like to live with or have kids and be a patient. So
Yes. Yes,
um so
100%.
so we can always kind of go back to the beginning um with kind of even before like pregnancy, before expecting
Mhm.
anything at all like that. Did you and Mario like did you guys ever go through kind of like genetics counseling or anything at all like that, just to kind of like ask questions to your neurologist, to your GP,
Yeah.
just about kind of what you should do, shouldn't do, medications, etc., like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So when we moved to BC, which was back in 2022, I think. 20 anyways, we a couple years ago, it's when we moved here. That's when I was like, okay, like I really like because I had to get referred to a new neurologist. So when we met with my new neurologist, I said to Miro, I want to, this is like important information that I want to tell her that, eventually we want to have a baby.
Yeah.
So we told her, we shared that information. And she said, okay, like that's amazing. Like, thanks for letting me know. And just like pretty much all she said was just let me know when you test positive and we'll go from there. And I said, okay. But she did ask a lot of questions. Like, she's just like, are you a smoker? Like, when was your last seizure? Like, she needed some background
Sure.
information. Um, and then once I met with my family doctor as well, we did the same thing because it was really hard to get a doctor here. But once I kind of like found one that was willing to take me on as a patient, again, I said that to Mira. I was like, okay, we need to tell them that this is our plan in the next, 2-ish years. This is what we want. Same thing. Asked a whole bunch of questions. Had some background history done. And then we decided later on that we were going to go through genetic screening.
Yeah.
Um, just because, like we want to know what what's going to happen. Like, you never know what's going to happen, but we just want to be prepared, I guess.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and that was a really hard decision to make, honestly. Like, Mario was like, I think we should do it. And I was like, I think we should do it too. But like, I'm just nervous, like I'm just nervous for the results. But since my epilepsy isn't genetic, my
Hmm.
neurologist did tell me, there's a very low chance that it'll be passed on to your baby.
Yeah.
Um, she's like, there's still a risk, but she's like, very low chance. And I was like, okay. But we did do genetic screening. We didn't do genetic counseling. That's new. Like, I've never heard of that before until you just brought that up.
Yeah, so Britt and I, we did that like 10-ish years ago, maybe longer. And it was basically we knew we wanted to have kids. It was just a matter of like when and all that kind of stuff. But we also had a ton of questions because at that point my seizures weren't as uncontrolled as they are now, but I still just wanted to know, like, okay, so what are
Mhm.
the odds? I have epilepsy. What are the odds that my kid would have epilepsy? And after going through a whole bunch of stuff, they basically determined that it's a slight increase, but it's like rather than 1% of the population, it's like 2%. Like they would have a two
Yes.
percent chance. So it's
Right.
nothing to really worry about. I mean, obviously, you're going to worry about everything,
Mhm.
but that's just kind of part of expecting, I guess.
For
Uh,
sure, for
but
sure.
yeah, that's kind of what we figured out during genetics counseling. So it was actually kind of eye opening for me as a patient that I didn't have to worry as much as maybe like I expected,
Right. Yeah.
which was kind of sort of great news. Um,
Mhm.
and obviously, it is a little bit different being me being the male than obviously, um, in your case, you're the patient yourself living with
Yeah,
epilepsy, so it obviously it varies quite
for
drastically
sure.
there.
For
Um,
sure.
but that it is always like
And
whenever
did
you're
you find that helpful though? Like you guys going like taking that route and doing that?
huge, yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like that reassurance that you know what, okay,
Yes.
there's much. It just kind of like a weight off of your shoulders. It was just
Yes.
something that like, do they have a chance of having epilepsy? Yeah, but I mean, so does everybody else in the world.
For
So
sure. For
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Same with us. I mean, it was like very nerve-wracking at first, but I was like after we got the results back and after we got like some reassurance, it's like, okay, like
Yeah.
now we can breathe. Now we can kind of like enjoy the process rather than just sitting and worrying and like waiting for
Mhm.
results and like, do we do this? Do we not do this kind of thing? One thing I've really had to like adjust to too is adjusting my medication, and that's been like a big question
Mm.
from people reaching out
Yes.
um
That's a
because
huge
they've
one.
asked, "Well, what medication are you on? Is it safe? Is it safe to take during pregnancy?" Yeah, yeah. So I'll say it again. I've said it before, but I'm on lamotrigine and Keppra,
Mhm.
and that was one of my first questions too when we met with my neurologist and my family doctor, and we told them, we want to start trying in the next, couple years, whatever. And my neurologist asked me, okay, well, good news is you're on two of the safest medications that are pregnancy safe. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. So she's like, no worries. But in the future, she's like, just to warn you, like, it's very common, like, during pregnancy, we may have to adjust your medication
Mhm.
because, like, you're carrying a human. So
Yeah.
there's more blood flow. You're building a life. So they're retaining some of that energy as well. So I've had to like increase my dose, I think 3 times. But I mean, it's very small intervals too, like, they're not just drastically like, it's maybe, like, 25 milligrams that we're going up at a
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
And then yeah, and then I go get blood work. Um, it was every 2 weeks, but my neurologist changed it to, like, every month because she's like, "I don't think we're getting accurate results." She said, "I think you need to be on it a little longer,
Okay.
to see, like, actual results." So I was like, "Okay," because at first I was like, "Oh, let's go as often as I can," and she's like, "Well, I don't see, like, the levels change, like, I think you need to be on it a little longer." So
Mhm.
I'm going every month, and every month she's called me and said we need to increase it. So, I mean, it's been like a little defeating in a way, but at the same time it's like I know there's pregnancy safe medications. Like I know like she wouldn't be suggesting this if it wasn't safe. So, it's just kind of like okay, like I'll do it obviously like if I need to and my body is telling like the blood work is showing that that needs to happen, like yes, let's do it. Cuz she always asks me like are you okay with doing this? Like do you consent? Which I really appreciate. So I'm like, yep, like that's fine. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, that was like a huge question that I get a lot about like are you still taking your meds? Are they safe during pregnancy?
Yes.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
That's one that I see constantly, and from both sides, from caregivers, from patients, whatever else. But yeah, talking about meds, and if
Mhm.
they are safe, and I mean, obviously, the same could be said for any other kind of medication, for anything out there.
Yeah.
Some are perfectly fine to take, some are not. But ultimately, the best thing is to talk with your specialist, talk with your medical
100%.
team, figure out what's kind of like best for you. And obviously, you're hearing it from Vanessa, yeah, like they're making adjustments as you go along.
Mhm.
And I'm nowhere near intelligent enough to comprehend the whole increase of medication, but it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense because it's
Right.
true. Like you have something else inside of you right now.
Yeah.
That's so.
And the really helpful thing is too, she's like, normally your levels are this, but they're here now. So like she tells me where they're usually at, and then she says, you know, your recent blood work came back that it's at this level now, so which is way
Mhm.
lower than what it should be. So I'm getting like all the information. It's not just kind of like we need to increase your meds. Like she's been really great with communicating like the numbers and all that stuff. So yeah, like Alex said, like contact your neurologist and your doctor, because again, like some questions I get I can't answer because I don't know. All
Mhm.
I know is like the medications I'm on are safe, which is great.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful that I didn't have to like switch medications in order to like start the process. Like I've been on these medications for a very long time. So I've been really like grateful that way.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's just kind of like a struggle right now, is just kind of like increasing them all the time. But at the same time, I've been seizure free throughout my pregnancy. So it's like I will increase my meds as much as I can just to keep it this way, because like that's something I was really, really nervous about getting pregnant about, like my epilepsy journey.
Of course.
But yeah, but like it's been really good so far. So I'm very thankful. And yeah, so like in your case too, like med changes didn't have to happen for you at all, right?
No, I mean, I've gone through numerous med changes, throughout the years, but obviously nothing because, I haven't
Right.
checked yet, but I don't think I'm pregnant, um, so no need to change for my own pregnancy, so
You're hilarious. Oh my god, wouldn't be an Alec dad joke without something like that sliding in here in the podcast.
but yeah, you know what? It is one of those things where, um, med changes, I think, are just likely, I mean, they're common. I mean, I don't wanna say super common,
Mhm,
but some people, especially if you do have like refractory epilepsy, like or uncontrolled seizures, anything like that, if you're not eligible for certain types of surgery, whatever else, a lot of people go through different types of med changes, whether they be different medications all the time or different medications entirely, different
mhm.
dosages, what have you. I've had to go through that, so I'm kind of used to the idea of kind of slowly increasing or decreasing dosages, and it can be hard. You can be a little bit sluggish during that time, but
Right,
obviously,
yes.
in your situation right now, like if you're increasing meds, like it's what do you attribute? Do you attribute it to being pregnant or like a new med kind of dosage? Like if
Yeah,
you're tired,
well,
if
she
you're
exactly, yes. She did say, like, one of the side effects will be, like, fatigue, like, you'll be way more tired, not just because you're pregnant, but because your body is adjusting to a new dose of medication. So I'm like, "Okay, great." But, I mean, and I have felt that symptom, like, I've been sleeping a lot, but, I mean, you just, like, gotta listen to your body whether you're pregnant or not. Like, this is just kinda something that I still try to remind myself all the time, is like, listen to my body, stay home from work when I need to, you
yeah.
know, like whether I wasn't pregnant or not, you know, it's just something that I feel like a lot of us need to just remind ourselves when we get caught up in like a busy schedule or something like that. Like it's just like, okay, we still suffer from a chronic illness, like we still need to take care of ourselves.
Uh, well, actually, that leads to my next question. I was just going to ask you about adjustments that you've had to make, like, or if you've had to make anything outside of your kind of standard, typical seizure treatment plan. So, like food, drink, sleep, etc., like that kind of stuff. Have you had to
Uh,
alter anything, or is it been
it's actually been pretty like that hasn't been something that I've needed to adjust. Like when it comes to like diet, like obviously I try to eat and eat as healthy as I can.
sure?
Um, But thankfully, like, I found out I was pregnant in April, and then since I work in the school board, I'm on summer break at the end of June, so I've had like a nice like summer break, so I haven't been working the last 2 months, which has been nice, but I've still had like a huge and busy schedule. Like, we were on a plane, we were driving, we were traveling, so like just getting like caught up in all like the busyness was
Yeah.
really tiring even though I wasn't working. Um so like I definitely had to like listen to my body during that time, even though we were so busy and we had stuff going on. I'm like, okay, like some days I might not be able to like go visit with these people, like I'm going to have to
Yeah.
sleep. So definitely adjusting to like especially time changes too. Like we were in a new time zone, so which was convenient for us because then we finally were on the
Right.
same
I know.
time
I
zone.
know.
I wasn't 3 hours behind and you weren't 3 hours ahead. But yeah, definitely sleeping a lot. Food, just been trying to eat as healthy as I can.
uh, Decaffeinated coffee. How's that going?
Oh my gosh, it's awful. And I remember us talking on one of our podcasts
Yeah.
about decaf coffee, and I'm like, I hate decaf coffee. I'd rather just not drink
Yeah.
coffee.
Yeah.
And now that it's time, I'm like, I'm drinking the decaf coffee. Like, so I mean, it's rough.
Oh,
I did tell Mario like that's something that you need to bring to the hospital bed after I give birth is like a large double from
just
Tim Hortons.
just like a jug, like 3 gallons of, yeah.
He's like, you're
Gotcha.
gonna be wired. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
That's all right. He's like, maybe we'll start with a small. I'm like, ah, go big or go home. Come on. I've gone
Yeah.
9 months without
Yeah.
this.
No, come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about aversions or like cravings, anything like that for food?
It's funny, like whatever Mario makes is what I feel like I actually
Oh
despise
man.
most.
Oh,
So when
okay, never
he's like,
mind. That you
no,
turned right there. Okay.
why? What were you thinking I was gonna say?
So whatever you said, whatever Mario makes you despise the most?
Yes.
Oh my, so you started out and I thought it was gonna be a nice thing, like, oh, like
Oh,
whatever he makes is what
no.
exactly what I'm
No.
craving. Nope. Nope.
Like he's like a
No.
super like meal plan. I eat the same, like he eats the same thing every day. Like, and he makes like chicken, eggs, potatoes, and like whenever he makes that, it's just the smell is so bad in the kitchen that I'm just like, I need to go for a walk or I just need to sit on the balcony or something because it smells so bad in here. And then I've been
Mhm.
really bad at even eating like chicken or eggs or like the healthy stuff I'm supposed to be eating right now because he's just made it like a food aversion for me and I don't know why, but I did read that like poultry can be a huge food aversion during
Oh
pregnancy.
man, it's one of those things where it's like I think it's like food that you wouldn't really expect. Like we had when Britt was pregnant with, I'm trying to remember if she was pregnant with the twins or with Charlie at the time. But either way, she was she was pretty far along in the pregnancy, and I thought like, okay, like she really likes. We do like if I do like a pulled beef kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's been like in like a slow cooker all day. That's like one of her like comfort foods, and I was like, I'm gonna do something like really, really nice for her. So when she comes home from work after like a super long day, it'll just be like perfect. Like she'll have like her comfort food, and
Yeah.
that'll be great. And she walked in and just like that, like I had to get rid of it. I had to like toss it. I'd been cooking all day, and I was just like, awesome.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
for like 8 months, nothing, bread and cheese. Like
Yes.
it was just
Yes.
like,
Mario's like, "What can I make you?" And I'm like, "I honestly don't know. Like, it's different every day." And
yeah,
it frustrates him, but I'm like, "I literally don't know." And then when I don't, I feel like when he thinks I don't get enough of like nutritious food or something, it's just like, but that's not what I want. Like, I'm trying to like, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, especially because he's like, he eats he eats the same thing every day, like he's a super strict diet, like whatever, but it's like that's not me, and I'm pregnant, so like you just got to bear with me. Like if I want mac and cheese, if I want Kraft dinner tonight, like that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna have
That's what
tonight.
yeah, that's what the baby wants right now. So,
And it
like,
was so good. I had oh no, I had Annie's when we were back
oh
in
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
when we
wow.
were
So
back in
you're
Ontario.
like, wow, fancy KD for people who don't
Well,
know. Like,
I
wow.
didn't I just said I'm craving
Okay.
mac and cheese, and Mary was like, "Okay, I'll tell my parents because we stay
Wow.
with them when we're back in Ontario." And that's what they got. They got Annie's, and I'm like, "I'm okay with Annie's." I was expecting Kraft
Man.
dinner though, but like it was so good. It was so good. Like I kind of want to go out and get a couple more boxes, to be honest.
Oh.
Like,
Anything like mac and cheese or KD in Canada, like anything over 99 cents for a box is considered luxury. And like Annie's is like, oh, like 2.49.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't have the budget for that. Like, I mean, yeah, I know you're eating 5-star cuisine, but like,
Chef's kiss.
yeah,
Chef's
yeah,
kiss.
right.
Like yeah, like I don't know, it's been a weird journey when it comes to like food, honestly,
Hmm.
because I just like I said, I try to eat as healthy as I can, but like what the baby wants, the baby gets. And sometimes it's like just me, but I just say it's the baby. But like honestly, it's like I had a chick Mary was like, I'll make you a chicken wrap last night. And I was like, okay. And I took one bite and I was like, I can't eat this. Like it's just chicken. Like chicken's probably my biggest food aversion right now. Like eggs, I can eat and I try to eat like in an omelet or something. The smell I can't handle, but I just can't eat chicken. So it's weird. It's such a weird thing. Like I'll eat beef, like I'll have like
Hmm.
chili. I'll try and like incorporate it into like something else.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, it's been a weird journey. So like that's definitely something I'm trying to like get better at because I'm going to be entering my third trimester in a couple weeks, which is crazy. So hopefully by the third trimester, I can kind of like get into a
So
routine of
not just Annie's
yeah,
and
yeah.
cookies and cream chocolate bars. Gotcha. Okay.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, and dill pickle chips. Like what else?
I
Like
mean,
just
yeah, there you go.
pickles.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
The heart wants what it wants,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Dying. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Uh, but for like, let's see, like when we were talking about like the genetic counseling and the genetic screening,
Hmm.
that was like a part of like our journey where I was like super nervous and stuff. And I don't know about you and Britt, with your pregnancy with her pregnancy journey and you guys going through all that. Um, was there any like adjustments that you had to make um with your like seizure treatment plan, like when you were wanting to like pursue like kids and stuff like that? Like did you I don't know, I can't even remember if I asked you this question earlier when we were talking about it, about med changes. Like did you ask about if you had to change meds on your end or anything like that?
Yeah. So we did. It was brought up very, very briefly with my epileptologist about like, and it might sound like a ridiculous question to ask, but when you're going through something as potentially life altering as having a kid,
Mm-hmm.
you really want to just kind of put everything out on the table just so you know kind of what to expect going in. So we were going into appointments just asking everything.
Yeah.
So we had an appointment with my epileptologist. It was already pre-planned anyways, but I figured at that point we should just ask, okay, like, is there any meds that are not great for me to be on
Right.
while we're trying? And fortunately, there wasn't anything that was kind of, it didn't really work that way. Um,
Yeah. It's good to ask
so
though, like you never know.
I didn't know. Like, and again, it might sound like a ridiculous question to some people, but I wasn't aware. So
Right.
so at least that one was kind of, we got that out in the open. And it
Mm-hmm.
really does seem like obviously a lot more as far as the medication goes. falls on the woman's
Right.
shoulders anyways. So,
There's no such thing as a dumb question.
well, I mean, I've asked a few myself, so so I mean, I wouldn't
I
go
knew you were
that.
gonna come back with something like that. Oh my god. So one question I wanted to ask you, because this is something that obviously I want to try and incorporate with my child as they get older, is how did you, or have you, introduced your girls to the fact that you have epilepsy or what epilepsy is?
Um, so basically, with us, so like the twins are like still like a little bit too young to kind of grasp everything right now. Like they're not quite
Mhm.
3. Whereas our oldest, she's almost 5, and has a better understanding of like what's going on, or a little bit of an idea at least. But we started with very kind of small things, like Epilepsy Awareness Month, and
Mhm.
just like we she was always very front and center. Like she was always at our events whenever we hosted stuff, so she kind of got
Right.
to meet people that were part of like the epilepsy community, and um people within Epilepsy Canada, which is great. And then we just started talking about like purple being kind of like epilepsy's color. And then there were like,
Nice.
as that sort of like started to like graduate a little bit more, and we were always reading bedtime stories. This wasn't supposed to be a plug, but it's here, which is one of her favorite books,
Yes.
which is Charbert Keeps Dancing, by one of our good friends, Kate. Um, and so that's a big one right there. And there are a whole bunch of great authors out there who've released kind of educational books for that, like kids, toddlers, and whatnot can sort of
Mhm.
comprehend.
Yeah,
And that is, I think, a very, very strong movement that I think we should start to implement a little bit more, because I know inevitably, um, the girls are all going to
for
witness
sure.
me having seizures. So
Mhm.
I think it's important for them to understand it a little bit earlier. And even though it's a
Yes.
sensitive subject and it's scary for a lot of people, it would
Yeah.
be good for when they are a little bit older to understand seizure, first aid, and all of that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
really,
100%.
that's kind of the extent of it at this point. Is just reading as much as we can, um, and kind of just talking about it. Them being around while we're kind of doing our stuff with Graeber's epilepsy, with
Yeah.
brainstormers, like they, yeah. So
Yeah,
do you and Mario,
100%.
like, do you guys have ideas as far as what you would want to do in the future, or?
No, not really. Like, we do have that book too, though, so that's definitely a resource we will be using. But I'm kind of trying to like circle back to see how we introduced it to my niece and nephew, because I remember us talking about
Hmm,
this once on
yeah,
a podcast.
that's right.
And unfortunately it had to come to a point where my niece witnessed me have a seizure, and that's kind of, and she was around 5 too, like your daughter. She was around that age where
Yeah,
she could kind of like grasp a
comprehend.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still needed a little bit more understanding as she got older. But I just like, I look back now and I'm like, I wish I had a resource like that, like a book, because that would be like perfect for her age at that time.
Mhm.
But it was just kind of like a tough conversation to have, with her. But now that that resource is here with us, I could use that, or we can, like you said, we can just like be very involved, like we already are, me and you and our
Mhm.
families are already very involved with Epilepsy Awareness Month and like Purple and like, you know, fundraisers and events and stuff. So I mean that path, we will cross that path when we get there. But um just curious, because I feel like now it's like, oh yeah, like it's gonna be easy. Like I'll know what I'm gonna say. But when it comes to it, it's gonna be like, oh, like this is gonna be a really hard topic to talk about. Like
It
I
is.
remember, yeah,
Yeah, it's a tricky one to begin with because they don't quite understand, but it's very like it's sort of interesting. Like so, like right now, like when Charbear Keeps Dancing, we read that probably 5 to 6 times a week. Like it's like
I love that.
always on the radar.
I love that.
So, but whenever epilepsy is brought up, usually our daughter, like whenever she hears that, she'll turn to me and say, "Oh, Daddy, like you have epilepsy." So, and it's not like in a negative way. She's just putting two and two together
Oh,
and
for
kind of
sure.
connecting the dots, which is really really kind of interesting and nice to have, anyways. So, um,
Yeah, 100%.
but
And the
yeah,
stuffy too. I love the
yeah,
stuffy.
yeah, we have a
And
couple of
I
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to Mario, I'm like, like I said to Kate, like, thank you so much. Like I love it kind of thing when we first got it. But I'm like, the question is now, is it gonna be for me or the baby? Like, do I gift it or do I just keep
I
it
don't
to
get one.
myself?
It just, like, Waves the bear just sleeps beside Charlie's bed, like, it's not I don't get to hang it with the bear, like, come on.
I might eventually, because like this is gonna be a nursery very
Yeah,
soon. So,
yeah.
which is crazy. Like people watching, like there's gonna be a whole new setup in our like living room area. We're still gonna do the podcast. It's just not gonna be in here. But once this is finished, I might put Waves the bear in here as part of the nursery too, just to be
Yeah,
like, here you go.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the book, of course, like with all the books.
absolutely.
And can
Yeah,
I just say that I love, this is like totally off topic, but when we're talking about connections with books and stuff like that, and whenever
yeah.
you read her that, what is it called? Like the ABCs of Canada or something? The
Oh, man, yeah.
and whenever it gets to British Columbia,
Good night, Canada. Yeah, good night, Canada. And she's like she'll go through it, and it's like so she's our oldest, so she's in French immersion, and so like when it gets to Quebec, like she'll be so excited to say bon nuit, and it's saying good night to every single province and territory, and yeah, when it gets to BC, she's like, "Your friend Vanessa's from there."
I love
I know, yeah, we've gone over
Oh, that was the sweetest thing. I love that so much. That's your
every
friend. I'm like,
every single time. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I need an updated video, I think, of that.
Yeah, it won't be any different. It'll be the exact same, but okay, yeah, yeah.
I know, but I just, the hormones. I'll be like,
I
oh
get yeah, yeah,
my God. Like, this is amazing. I love this.
yeah.
One thing too that I've been getting asked as well,
Mhm.
is about my OB.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I wanted to touch on that too, because again, I think this is a good topic to discuss because again, I've been getting messages from people and I've been doing like some ask me anything on my stories on Instagram and there have been some questions about that. So like um unfortunately the OB situation for me has been a little tough road because when we first found out I was pregnant, I originally got referred to an OB. Then it was kind of like, okay, like we'll set up an appointment, blah, blah, blah. And then finally came back to be like, we're not taking on new patients. It's like, okay. So then my doctor had to refer me to a new one. Same thing, like not taking on new patients. And it was kind of like weird because I had to like wait a couple weeks for them to get back to my doctor and then my doctor get back to me because
Mhm.
I don't know how the process works. Like it was kind of like the receptionist that was kind of like the messenger for all of this. But then finally now, this was back in July when I finally got referred to somebody that's willing to take me, but they said they can't see me until September because their schedule is fully booked. So I mentioned that on my stories when I was doing an ask me anything about that, and I got a comment saying, "Oh yeah, that's really late that you're seeing somebody like seeing an OB that late in your pregnancy." And I'm like, like I know, like obviously this isn't the ideal situation I wanted. Like of course I would have wanted to see an OB like way earlier in my
Sooner. Yeah.
pregnancy. Yeah, but the good thing is that I see my family doctor more regularly than I guess I wouldn't because I would just go to my OB. But
Yeah.
since I can't see her until September, I see my family doctor every 3 weeks. I
Which is
actually go
awesome.
tomorrow. Yeah,
That's
I actually
awesome.
go tomorrow. So so that's like on the calendar. But um yeah, so I mean it's tough, like especially out here, out west. I don't know how it is out east, but like it's so hard to get a family doctor out here. So like I was
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, so I was kind of like okay, like not okay, but I was kind of like I'm just yeah, I guess I'll say okay. I was kind of okay with the fact that like the process was taking a little longer because I knew I already had my family doctor and I had a neurologist. Like I had a team
Yeah.
already built.
Yeah.
I mean, so finally having an OB now, like I'm like, okay, it's a little bit of relief. Like I'll see her when I'm 25 weeks pregnant. So like, yeah, that's a
Hmm.
little late, obviously, but I mean, it's better now, like now or
Yeah.
never kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to mention that in the podcast too because I know people have been asking about that.
Now, was it ever like going back to the whole topic of an OB? Did you ever like with conversations between you and Mario? Did you ever
Mhm.
flirt the conversation of going with either like an OB or a midwife, or was it just like with us, we were always just an OB just because that's we really liked ours and we just stuck with our
Yeah,
team. And then with the twins, it was just we were considered what was like a high risk pregnancy, so they like to kind of keep you with,
right.
and that was during COVID and everything. So it was like really just stick with your team and whatnot. But with did you ever look into midwives, or was that really?
It was talked about a little bit like just between me and Mario,
Hmm.
but I think we were more comfortable going the OB route just
Yep.
because of how much it was recommended by our neurologist and by our doctor, just because like you said of our situation of and of me being technically a high risk pregnancy. Like they have my neurologist has connections and my family doctor has connections, which I mean unfortunately first two didn't work out, but like the third one did. So it's kind of like okay, like I know that she knows people, so like I'm comfortable just going that route rather than a midwife. And
Hmm.
I mean people can do whatever they want and I'm not
Absolutely.
judging. Like I've heard of fantastic birth experiences with midwives, so like
Hmm.
I think that's incredible. But me and Mira were on the same page and we're like, yeah, let's keep it as it
That's
is.
that's just it. I think once you both are comfortable with whatever that's I mean, you stick to it.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Like we have some close friends who've gone the midwife route, and they've had nothing but amazing things to say about it.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I mean, I really just don't think you could go wrong with either way. It's just a
Oh,
total
for sure.
preference with your comfort and what you want to do and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
100%. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see her in September. There's gonna be lots of questions that
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be feel so bad. Like I'm like, I'm just meeting you, but like here's my notebook and here's all the questions I have to ask you. But but yeah, so that's happening in September and then we'll just go from there, I guess, with what's next, which is crazy. I can't believe it.
Oh man. I'm trying to see if we've kind of gone over everything that we had.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of some stuff that we that I got flooded in my DMs on Instagram too. Like there were some there was a question about a C-section and like birth
Oh,
plan
like a
and like
cesarean? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So again, I'll just kind of bring it up because I've got some questions
Hmm.
about it. But yeah, people were asking me like, "Oh, are you gonna go through a planned C-section. People have just been saying they've heard that like with people with epilepsy, that's kind of like a route to go through kind of thing. And honestly, like, I don't really know what we want to do yet. Like, again, this is a question for my OB.
Hmm.
Um, Ideally, I don't want to have a C-section. I would love to give birth vaginally and just have a natural experience and not have that long recovery time of a C-section. Like, I know that that happens, and like whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess we'll see. But like, I have a lot of nursing friends, and they say that work in labor and delivery, and they've told me that like they've had moms who come in who have epilepsy and have given a successful like
Yeah.
vaginal birth. So I'm like, okay, that like honestly makes me feel so much better, because I was like so set on like, oh my God, my only option is a
Is
scheduled
this
C-section.
sure?
Yeah. So I mean, one person particularly who was telling me this, who's a labor and delivery nurse, was just like, ask your OB, but like just write down questions and blah 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 blah. So I'm like, okay, so I'm hoping that like that can be the outcome. But I mean, again, who knows? Like, it just, whatever happens happens. But yeah, so we'll see. Like, it's all, I feel like we need to do like a part 2 of like this podcast,
I
of
know.
like
I
to be
know.
continued, to be continued, with all the answers that I will get from the questions I'm,
I
I'm
know. Like,
asking.
'cause I was gonna say, like, I always get flooded so much stuff. Like, whenever I do a post about being a dad living with epilepsy, there's like 10, 15 messages that like just like come in, and it's just like, oh hey, what did you do with this, or like how did you approach this? I'm just like, I don't know, like like, so I feel a
Yeah,
little bit like
right.
overwhelmed, but I'm sure if I go through DMs right now, I'm sure I could like find a whole bunch of stuff that have been asked in the past.
Right.
But it's a really, really good topic to kind of touch on. And yeah, we could definitely do like a part 2 and kind of discuss all this stuff. Maybe when
Yeah, for sure.
maybe we could have a little special guest appearance if we do it in the new year.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. Oh my God,
and
that'd be so fun. Just be like in a little wrap right
yeah,
here or
right,
something.
yeah,
And if anybody has any questions too, like drop them in the comments of this video as well, and we'll be checking, and we can always like add your question into the next video, or
oh,
just like
definitely, yeah.
directly respond. Like, we're gonna be super active now, coming back on. Like, we are back, baby.
We are
We
back.
are back. We are
And
back.
as
I
we
wish I could
said,
say the full thing.
I know, yeah. As we said, like, we thank you so much for your patience while, um, obviously we're kind of just going through everything throughout the summer, but we really do appreciate, you guys, your constant support. It truly means so much to Vanessa and I, and yeah, stay tuned because we have a
Yes.
boatload of stuff coming, and we're finally kind of
Yeah, it's been a long time
getting
coming.
back to the groove. So yeah.
Yes, 100%. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for joining us again, and we are out.